What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about a pretty viral thing that went online about a week or so ago. Very much up my alley, in terms of microtransactions and insane spending on a game that, the question would be, does it deserve this kind of spending? A lot to talk about. Again, I know it's a little bit old, but I did not want to let it go, without having a conversation on it. So, there was an individual that I think whether they posted their own thing or whether it was a YouTube video and someone clipped it, there was an individual that spent $32,000 US dollars on NBA 2K25. Now, I believe this person is a YouTuber. I've gone through Reddit, I've gone through Twitter. I can't actually find who this person legitimately is. If they're a big YouTuber, small, who they are just in general. What I do want to say, if this person is watching or just anybody out there, please, for the love of God, A, stop this behavior, and B, never do this if you haven't done it already. Never move into this position. This is everything that's wrong with the industry. At the same time, I'll say this, okay? I believe in personal responsibility, and you can blame the game. You could argue, why can you spend $32,000 on a game that, by the way, is not free to play? This is not a in case you didn't know, NBA 2K is a game that you buy, and some people buy, actually a lot of people buy every single year for some reason, right? Look, also let me throw out one thing. I'm very much against telling people what to do with their money. I say that all the time. I'm pretty careful in reviews to say things like that. I try to be respectful of that stuff because I do believe it's your money, it's my money, we do what we want with it. But I will tell you, okay, if you're spending $32,000 on a game, that's where there's a line. I will step over that line and I will tell you that we have to talk about this, right? Because not only are you hurting yourself, and I think you can probably definitively say that out loud, you're also hurting other things, right? Because one of the things you could say from a larger community is this is why these companies don't care what we think. This is why, and I'm not familiar really with any of the major sports games outside of NHL, okay? But I keep an okay eye on them. I mean, I've watched reviews. The general thing with all of these games is the very little progress from one game to the next, okay? That's a thing with all of them. I do believe, maybe biasness, maybe not, I do believe NHL has had the slowest decline into hell. It has gotten there. I think over the last probably 5 years, the quality there is no jump from one game to the next, where I do think for a considerable time, the FIFAs, the Maddens, NBA honestly also kind of went back and forth. Sometimes there would be huge jumps between one NBA game and another. There'd be good eras, and then sometimes there'd be terrible ones. Madden and FIFA, for really as long as I can remember it, have always been bad. Have always been one game, you actually lose things from one to the next. Madden, I think specifically, I think people will point to that, right? That there's features that they reintroduce now that were taken away from the game 15 years ago, but it was a mainstay 20 years ago. That was just a common thing in the game. They took it out. It was gone for 2 decades, and they put it back in. They act like it's something new. And that, Angry Joe points that out, I think, really well. All of the sports games do it. And why? Why? Well, number one, they do sell really well, year over year. And then number two, as we talked about mainly with the EA stuff, with Madden and FIFA, they do so well with these microtransactions. And when you make billions with a B, FIFA does it, Madden does. I don't know how much NBA does, but I imagine it's an okay amount. When these games can pull in several hundreds of millions of dollars just through microtransactions, there is absolutely no push to improve. Maybe if you're the workers, you of course, I would hope have some sort of feel that you would want to do better year over year. But honestly, they always are given, a short end of a stick. They always have to make a game in 9-10 months. They're never given enough time. So it's mainly I'd say the people above them, right? People that say, the executives that say, okay, well, you can make a game every year. Don't worry about improving it. It could really probably be the same game because you're going to have clowns everywhere that are just going to overspend on it. I feel like when it comes to this guy in particular, there's not, you don't need to talk about it for 10-15 minutes. This is a grown man, and I honestly can't believe it. It's why I don't even feel it's necessary to talk about it. I think you want to talk about the entire issue of spending, not just this person, because, again, 32K, you could, depending on where you are, that'd be a nice little down payment on something, whether it's, where I live, that probably couldn't do a down deposit for a house or anything, but What about like the room he's in? You see the video of like behind him. It's fine. I'm not going to criticize like the guy's living, but 32K. I will criticize this, okay? Fine, he can have the greatest life outside of streaming and outside of NBA possible. I wish him all the best in that way. But 32,000 can go a long way even without buying something, okay? It could renovate the back of where you see behind him in the camera. How about you renovate that for 32,000? Now, I've gone down like a little Reddit rabbit hole talking about like YouTubers and like tax codes and like how some of them actually can get away with this type of spend. Not necessarily even this guy, but the people that spend massive amounts of money on Madden, FIFA, all these things, kind of for like the showmanship of like streaming. But it does make people think, like, because I have seen people say like these are like the worst people. These are the people that truly they're the only people that caused this stuff to happen, these games to continue going down this way. I will push back there and say these are the visible ones. These are people that, to be honest, they could be. I mean, I could actually maybe hear you out, if they are role models to other people, right? If other people are watching these YouTube channels, and my really only like exposure to this stuff is probably through Angry Joe when he does the Madden reviews, and he'll put in those very cringy like Madden streamers where they're so excited to open like a pack, or they're so excited for the next game reveal, even though like if they're being truthful in their soul, they cannot possibly act like that, because it's all a show, right? They're doing it for the people that watch them, and they're hamming it up and stuff, and there's a little bit of a game being played there, which in some ways it's like, hey, get that bag, get that money, but in other ways you're selling your soul to do it, right? So are those people a problem? They're definitely a problem. They might not be the major problem. I think there's a lot of people that do stuff like that. Maybe not 32,000, but like back in the day, you would hear stories like IGN would do stories. There's kids that would like take credit cards, and this happens, I imagine, quite often. We're pretty careful with our daughter. You don't do that, I don't think, as a parent, but some people, you might not monitor it, and a kid might get a hold of a credit card, and next thing you know, they spend $2,000 on Minecraft. Like those are real stories. Minecraft, Roblox, all these, some of them, these are like live servicey, multiplayer games, but they also do it here as well. You give the wrong kid in the wrong situation a credit card, there goes like $5,000 on Madden, Ultimate Team stuff. And it's like, I feel like that happens probably more than you would hope it does. You'd hope it doesn't happen at all, or it's like isolated incidents. It probably honestly happens quite a bit because they just make so much money. And I feel like there definitely has to be something wrong with you in order to do it. I am not opposed to spending a little money here, a little money there. Okay, even if hundreds of dollars, even like that's where I still do have that line. And it's like, hey, it's your money. If you buy Madden or you buy NBA, and that's the only game you buy the whole year, and you invest $500 in it, I don't think that's wise. I think you could use that $500 and probably open yourself up to other games that are 10 times better. But that's where I'll stand on my morals and say that's not really my place. If that's what your life is, you just want to do it, whatever. But there should be a line, right? Where it's like a couple thousand when you get into the 30s. That should probably be mocked. To be honest with you, that should be openly talked about in a study of don't do this. It sends all the wrong signals to the game developer, to the game publisher. It is a waste of money, and really that's where I feel comfortable saying that phrase. A lot of times I won't say it, but I will. You spend $30,000 on something like this. That's a huge waste. Again, what I just said, like, do you know how many games you could buy for 32? Now, okay, you could renovate your freaking house. You could renovate the room you're in, but then also, even if you just think about video games, take $1,000 of that 32,000, $1,000, buy like 40 games in the year, and open yourself up to games that, get this, because these people won't believe this, you spend $40, $50, $60, and that's all you have to spend. Did you know that Expedition 33 is just a game? And when you buy that game, which is less than the normal price for a video game nowadays, less than NBA, when you buy that game, it's just a full package. They're not trying to make you spend $10,000 on it, right? If you buy Silent Hill, we can just shill other video games here, but just maybe open your eyes up to games that don't try to scam you out of everything, and that's where, yeah, I think people's minds can be very, very weak. We should accept a lot of the responsibility. With that being said, we shouldn't just say, oh, it's all of our faults and it's never the game side of things. The game allows for this. That does get tricky because it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want some sort of like federal, a regulation where the game can't do this? It gets messy, but should it? Should there be something out there where it says, hey, for your own safety, we're going to limit purchases at like $1,000? I would say no. I would say I don't really like government stepping into it like that. That would get very messy. And that's where, again, I think it goes more on the responsibility of the person. Back forth though, right? Like person has the responsibility to just put the credit card away. And then the game has the responsibility where it's like, do you really need somebody to spend $1,000 when you buy a $70 game? Like, is that necessary? And this is the sad part on the gaming side of things. It is. A lot of these games, weirdly, are set up so that even though they're $60, $70, $80, they still need you to spend money on microtransactions for the game to be profitable. It just selling the game at $70 is actually not enough for the game to be successful. It needs to do more. And the only way it can do more, it can't charge $200 for the retail price. It charges the normal rate, and then it tries to get you to buy things inside the game. So it's like, that's a very screwed up nature, with the industry. Basically, everything is in a lot of trouble. Ultimately, you can only control yourself. So I can promise you I'll never do that. 32K, I wish I had 32K from this person right now, but that's okay. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.